right, you want me to go?
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us for this session of EDUCAUSE's Demo Day on Chatbots. I'm Nikki House, and I'm your host for today's event. Please use the chat to share your comments or ask questions of our presenters throughout the presentation. And if you would like to view the closed captioning for this session, make sure that you click the Show Captions button located at the bottom of the Zoom room. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming our presenters. Andrea?
Oh, thank you. Yep, I'm Andrea Vega. I'm the VP of Informer Engineering at Entrinsik. So we are the makers of Informer. And so just to kick us off before we get started, let's take a little poll. And let's find out what are your institution's current AI initiatives centered around. So, and it doesn't have to be one of those. You could say early stages and haven't decided. Check all that apply. And we'll see what people are saying.
So, Andrea, we've got that poll up and running, and we will give it about 30 more seconds.
Okay. Well, while everybody's wrapping that up, I'll go ahead and talk about the agenda. I'll talk about who we are, what's Informer Go, but most of the time is going to be spent on the demonstration. That's why we're all here. And then I will talk a little bit about our roadmap and leave time for Q&A as well. All right. So while we're waiting for the poll results, we're Entrinsik, that's the company name. We're a software company based in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we're the makers of Informer. We have over 3,000 organizations in many industries worldwide that use our software every day. But we are experts in higher education. That is our forte. We have a lot of experience there. We've been in it for years. So we know all your reporting needs in and out. So do we have the poll results?
Got them, and so I'm sharing them.
All right, so internal operations, 29%, student facing, teaching and learning, and then 55% in the early stages, which makes sense because there's a lot going on with AI really fast. And so I'm going to talk more about Informer now. Informer's been around a long time. We're a business intelligence tool, reporting and analytics. But our main tenet is that we are an information platform. So we connect to anything. We have student information system, your LMS, your databases, spreadsheets, cloud APIs, GraphQL, like Salesforce or other CRMs. We connect to it all. And we even have special relationships with some of these vendors to get special access to that data that isn't just available through their API. So we get to the data. And then the most important thing about that is to protect it, because that's one of your biggest assets is your data. So you want to protect it, organize it, and control access to it. And you want to do that at scale. So you can start small and get larger and have it all managed. And things like when you say full-time students, that everybody is talking about the same thing. There's a data set of full-time students, and we all agree that that's what we're going to use when we're talking about our students. So there's more to data governance than just the integrity and protection of the data. And so we are really good at all of that. And we're also in the cloud. We have SOC 2 Type 2 certification, which is the highest kind. We're scalable, so if you're small or big, it'll still be performant. We've got Lucian SaaS verified badges. We've got AWS offered support, and we've got SSO, SAML, and if you want on-premise, because some people just want to have control over their stuff. So once all that's in place, then the fun begins because you can turn loose your data on the people who have access to it and let them take full advantage of the data they do have access to. Data democratization, you may have heard. And that looks like historically like dashboards, interactive visuals, printable reports. It can even be like welcome letters, word merge kind of things. But also like accreditation and compliance, iPads. That's a big one that we do for people. We set it up once and then they run it every year. So it's kind of like a little bit of effort at the beginning, but less than it takes normally. And then every year you just run it again. So that's one of the big things we do. And then just automations, scheduling, have something sent to me every Monday, bulk emails by email address in the data, file transfers, data refreshes, exception reporting. So this is our foundation. We've had this for many years. 2 years ago, we started to bring AI into it. And that looks like making visuals by asking what you want to see. And then once the AI comes up with the visual, it's live now, no more AI. You can filter, interact with it. It's just the creation of it is done through the AI. So we've got a lot of features like that built into Informer. But we are introducing Informer Go today, which is our app. It's an enterprise AI application and it's on our proven infrastructure. So all of the AI is backed by this data governance and access that you have with Informer. So it's on mobile. We've got Apple, iOS, Android, desktop. I'm going to demo on my Mac, the desktop application. And then Informer is a browser-based app, and Informer Go is also inside Informer. So all modern browsers support this as well. So really anywhere you are, you can get to this. So what kind of questions would you ask Informer Go? So it depends on who you are. If you're from the grants and sponsored programs, maybe you'd say, fill out this grant proposal using my research. And so what data does that imply? That is like the project overview, methods, budget, timeline, team qualifications, research data, and supporting institutional metrics. So that data can come from many places, might just be in your OneDrive or a data set from your SIS or a combination of those. So once you have that and you can say something like, fill out this grant for me, now you get more time to do the research, less time filling out grants or the ability to apply for more grants because it's quicker now. Student affairs, build a student work schedule. So that sounds pretty straightforward, but think about what that implies. It means you have to have the students' class times. There are labor laws, there's institutional policies. Students cannot work more than X number of hours across the week. And availability matching, when do you actually need the student to work? So we met somebody who had this exact use case, and he estimated that he will save now 32 hours a year just by using the assistant Informer Go to create those class schedules for him. I mean, the student schedules. So imagine that times the number of supervisors that do it. So now we've got like alumni relations. You could say, recommend effective ways to increase alumni donor giving in the College of Engineering. So this means we want access to giving history, engagement metrics, communication preferences, effectiveness of past campaigns. So we get all that in place, and now we've got an increase in donations and a decrease in admin costs. And it's repeatable, right? You can continue to use that. It's an investment in time to build something like that. And if you're a student, help me understand this week's topic based on my learning style. So that is the course syllabus, the lecture materials, the assignment data, preferences of the student. Then once you have that in place, it's a personal tutor for that student. And you now can increase learning outcomes by 2 standard deviations, which is like a D student becomes a B and a C becomes an A. And the citation for that is this paper by Benjamin Bloom called the 2 Sigma problem. Highly recommend you take a look at that if you haven't already, but it's about how one-on-one tutoring is so much more effective than group learning. And so now we can actually bring that to our students. Then on the flip side, the faculty. So email me a summary every morning about what I should address based on what my students are asking. So that needs all the stuff that the student had, but also a summary of the student questions that are being asked. So now you've got this feedback loop, faster, more effective changes to the lecture, making sure that students don't fall behind and that you're addressing things that people are confused about. So hopefully those examples kind of give you a broad idea of what all is involved. I mean, it could be from any part, operations, teaching and learning, or student direct access. So now it's time for the demo. I'm going to switch over to my desktop app. So this is Informer Go. You might notice it looks a lot like ChatGPT, and that's intentional. So everyone has to answer, all vendors have to answer this question. Why wouldn't I just use ChatGPT for this? And so we have a very compelling reason why you would use Informer Go over ChatGPT. And that is access to all of your institutional data and your local data, like on your computer or on your phone. So here I can start a conversation with Informer Go. I can just say, get it started, like, good afternoon, right? And so now I'm going to show you this little icon here, which is select assistants. And this is kind of where the most fun comes from. Here are the assistants that I have access to. I built these in Informer, so we'll show that in a little bit. But these are special, we call them specialized governed assistants because they're specialized in exactly what they know. Their knowledge is controlled, and they are very good at what they're supposed to do. So I'm going to select financial assistant and say, give me a summary of our financial situation. So now the AI is going to go out, all of the data that the assistant has access to, and also that I have access to. This is me logged in. You can see my name at the bottom, Andrea Vega. So I'm logged in to Informer Go as myself. So I'm only able to see the data, the columns, the rows that have been granted to me, plus anything that I want to add on my own. So here it's saying, all right, based on this data, here's your total balance and the total records, performance, strengths. So I could say, show me some graphs. I'll create some visualizations to help you understand your financial situation. All right, so we've got balance sheet by account type, cash and equivalents, accounts receivables. So this is the operational example here. Budget utilization overview, budget performance by fund type. So a lot of times with this kind of analysis, you don't even know what question to ask. So being able just to say, give me information, is a great way to just start the conversation. And then you can drill in deeper once you find something that's interesting to you. Financial activity over time, cash position, health. All right, so another big part of AI is that you have to know how it got that data. You have to be able to reproduce it and explain it, especially if you're going to make big decisions based on this data. You want to make sure you understand where it came from and that it's correct. So with Informer, we do not obscure that whatsoever. We make it very, very easy to tell exactly how this data was gathered and give you a way to reproduce the results. So I can say here, give me detailed information about how you came up with these numbers above. All right, so it said I used balance sheet numbers, which came from a data set called Banner Financial Sheet Data. So it asked for this aggregation query and Elasticsearch. It got these raw results from that query. It got these budget numbers. Here's the query that was used. Here were the raw results. Here's the fund type breakdown, the timeline data, data quality notes, how many records were analyzed, rounding methodology. So all of these pieces of information explain the analysis that happened above. So you can get exact answers as far as like where did that number come from, and it can tell you. And then so say you're interested in looking at something a little bit closer. So say like I'm interested in flow of budget. Show me a Sankey chart. Sankey charts are kind of fun. I ask for them in almost every chat because they're so useful to see. So it shows here in this example, total adopted budget and then where it went. So we've got here's the total budget, here's the current unrestricted remaining So if you're a budget person, this probably looks really familiar to you. But then I got some other ones too. So budget life cycle flow, utilization flow, budget flow analysis. So now maybe I'm not even sure what to ask next. We have a button for that. It's called Suggest a Question. So based on the conversation we've had so far, Inform or Go can analyze it and ask and suggest questions that you should ask next. So that is all part of Inform or Go. I wanted to talk about this assistant a little bit more now. So now I've shown you my desktop app. I also want to mention, I did talk about mobile, so I want to show you, this is what it looks like on mobile. I've got the iOS simulator going here. So this is Informer Go on desktop, Informer Go on mobile. It's in the Apple and Google Play stores in beta right now. So if I hop over to my browser, this is Informer, and this is the platform that backs Informer Go. And so our goal with Informer is to make things as easy and flexible and future-proof as possible. So in terms of governance is a big thing. And you've already probably done a lot of it. Like if you've got Active Directory in your institution, that probably means you've got groups and access rules in place already. And so Informer ties directly into that. You can make users directly in Informer, or you can tie it to your existing Active Directory. So nobody has to have a new password and username. And all of the groups that were in your directory, like if you're part of this department or that one, they can synchronize with Informer as well. We call them teams. So say you have like an admissions office, alumni relations, business affairs, faculty. We have all these groups that we entered here. If they correspond, or even if they don't, if a group is coming from Active Directory, it can become a team in Informer. And that means that when you share data access, you can share it to a team. So as people come and go from the organization, it's not a huge maintenance task to update or maintain the security access. So what that looks like in practice. If I go here, these are all kind of the top level things that Informer has to offer: assistance, reports, data sets, data sources, which are like the connectors, jobs, which is that automation I talked about earlier, and libraries. So it's like OneDrive or Canvas, something where you can hook in to files directly. So I'm going to jump into the financial assistant. This is the one that I checked when I had the assistant box up in Informer Go. So if I go into financial assistant here, you'll notice this is the same UI in a different color. This is Informer Go. So if I click edit here, just to show you behind the scenes how this is constructed, all I had to do was add a couple of data sets that I already was given access to. So as Andrea, I was given access to this banner budget availability data set, maybe only certain columns from it. So maybe there's more to this data set than I can see, but I don't even know. As far as I'm concerned, this is all that I have. Same thing with the rows. There might be rows here that my user doesn't have access to. And so those security rules go from the top to bottom. So if I'm talking to an assistant that has a data set and for some reason you've shared that assistant to me, but the data sets hasn't been shared to me, the assistant's not going to answer the question because all assistants are answering questions as you. So all the access that you have is the same access that the assistant has. So furthermore, with this financial assistant, we're limiting the knowledge of this financial assistant. We're saying, okay, you know about the budget availability and the balance sheet. And that's it. You don't have any information about students or anything else. And why that's good is that AI does much better if it's got a very focused purpose. And so if you give it too much information and too much data, it might get confused about what you mean, what you're asking, or what to look for. So if you have a financial assistant and you're interested in budget availability, then you give it that data set, right? You can also throw in some files, like we have an easy upload for PDFs and stuff, but honestly, like who wants to maintain uploads? Like that's People are always saying you have to scan things or upload things into AI, and that's like so frustrating because you already have to deal with these other things. You don't want more work. So we also have an ability to just synchronize with your OneDrive or your Google Drive or wherever your files are. So we call those libraries. So if I wanted to add a library, I've already got my SharePoint loaded up here. So I can navigate through it and say, okay, I want this campus folder and all the files that are in there. I want this to be accessible to my assistant. So now if I'm working on a desktop application and I save the file, Informer is going to know that that file changed, update its knowledge to the assistant, and now you can ask questions to the assistant, and it's going to be up to date. So that is how you build an assistant. Hang on a second. Okay, so now I want to show you our integrations. So we talked about data, structured data from your data sets. This can be your student information system, LMS, wherever your data lives, QuickBooks, Salesforce. But we also have direct connections where you don't necessarily want to load in a bunch of data. You just want to ask a question and have the product answer it for you. Like Salesforce especially is good at this. Instead of downloading all your CRM data, loading it up into Informer, why don't we just give you a connection to Salesforce and you can ask questions, and it's going to, of course, make you log in as yourself, so you're not getting any access you shouldn't. But now you can just ask Salesforce a question, and in the same conversation have your budget analysis. So the AI has both things at their disposal in order to be able to answer your question. So there's lots of ways that you can mix and match, and that's our goal, is to future-proof your AI solution, not to have AI sprawl, because you really don't want to have an AI for teaching and learning and a separate one for operations and you don't know what your AI strategies are going to be or your initiatives are even going to be a year from now, because things are changing so fast. So you want to have a kind of one-stop shop where you can future-proof your AI. And like in models, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with AI models, but they're changing really fast. And so when I was demoing earlier, I showed you Claude Sonnet. That's one of my personal favorite right now. And if you click on here, we give you access to any of the AI models. We don't pretend that we are the LLM. We use all of the best ones out there: Google, OpenAI, Anthropic. We also support Ollama, if you're familiar with that. So we're all about choice and flexibility and not getting tied down to one solution or one connection. So here we've categorized them by like fast, smart, creative, value, and like the cheapest ones. And from within the same conversation, you can switch back and forth between these. So I can start my conversation with Claude and switch to O3, which is a reasoning model. So it gives you total flexibility moving forward. And if that's not something you care about, just ignore it. You can just leave it on whatever it is. But for some people, that really does matter. And GPT-5 is about to drop. And so there's no long waiting period for, oh, okay, well, GPT-5 came out, but now I have to wait for my AI solution to update to use that model. It's like, nope, as soon as it's available, you're going to see that in the drop down. And now all of a sudden, your questions are going to get even more advanced and better answers. Like it's only going to get better from here. So just to quickly go over some of the other buttons on here, because there's so much you can do. If you're on the desktop, you can give it file system access. So here I can go in and pick a folder on my computer and say, now you have access to my downloads folder, ask a question, and it can read and write to that folder, nothing above or outside that directory. So I'm limiting it to the scope of that. So that's another thing we like to do with Informer Go is limit what an assistant knows about. Not only is that better for just focus, but it also gives you more of a chance of getting better answers where it asks multiple assistants questions and then it comes to a conclusion. So if I click on this assistant, you'll notice they're checkboxes. They're not radio buttons. So I can bring in my campus companion or my admissions assistant and my financial assistant and ask a question that requires information from both assistants in order to answer. And so that is the power here, is mix and match information that the AI has at any given time. You can then take off those assistants and add something else and continue in the same conversation. So it's ultimate flexibility to wherever you want to take the conversation. We also have a little globe where you can turn on and off web search. So if you're asking something really of the moment, like, what's the weather right now? Like, what's the weather in Raleigh? It's not going to have that information in the LLM because that information was like locked whenever the stopping point was, like maybe June last year, right? So this has to go out to the web and get the information for the weather. So that's what that does. This one is really cool. So this is maybe one of the most powerful things. You can schedule prompts. So that means there's an example here, send me a test notification in 1 minute. But this is where you can start to get really creative and powerful with what you want to do. In the example earlier, we had the instructor that said, email me every night the summary of all the questions my students are asking and advice on what I should cover in tomorrow's lecture. That's how this would be set up. You just ask for what you want, and Informer Go is smart enough to come up with that schedule and send you notifications. You can ask for emails or push notifications. Like I don't know if you can see my phone, but like Informer Go will send you a notification on your phone. It'll say, hey, I asked for the weather there too, because it's a good test to make sure it's working with the internet and everything. But I can easily also say, hey, let me know if I'm an engineer, so let me know if we're getting near the end of the sprint and there's more than 20 open items, something like that. So whatever your job is, you can take advantage of these schedule prompts, and they can use the information from the chat so far, from the assistants and the data that it has reference to give you an answer at any condition you want. Like maybe it's just every morning, maybe it's when something happens, event-based. And so having the ability to get these schedule prompts it's a game changer. It's a really big deal. We use it all the time. And then of course you can upload files. I mean, that's sort of basic. Everybody kind of expects that now. But yeah, that is Informer Go in a nutshell. Backed by all of the data governance of Informer, and really not limited to any one thing. I mean, if you want teaching and learning, we've already got colleges out there, universities using this for teaching and learning. And same thing for operations. We internally at Entrinsik, we use it every day for all the different departments, like marketing, engineering. We all use Informer Go, and it's incredibly useful. So I don't even remember what my job is without it anymore, honestly. It's really, really a big deal. So I think it's now time to go back to our slide and bring in some Q&A. So I did say I was going to talk about roadmap. Let's see, Alt tab to, here we go, roadmap. So what are we doing next? Our goal is just to integrate with all the things. So Illusion Experience is coming out. Illusion's coming out with this new dashboard called Experience. And so we've got little cards for that, where Informer Go is integrated with that dashboard. We can also integrate Informer Go with your own campus website or dashboards. So we want to just continue to make these integrations as easy as possible. So you don't even have to necessarily have the app if you don't want. It could be just part of your app. We also are focused on interactive teaching and learning. Like those notifications are kind of just beginning. Being able to make the cycle between professor and student smoother. One example of a college working with teaching and learning is Informer's hooked up to Canvas. And so as soon as a student is registered in their student information system, Informer will give them access to this Canvas assistant that is drawing information through a library of all of the documents the professor has uploaded. So if it's a calculus class and the professor uploads a study guide, just like I mentioned before, as soon as he uploads it, Informer is going to grab it and make it part of the knowledge base of the library. And so now a student can ask a question about the study guide and the AI knows what it's talking about, knows what the student's talking about. So teaching and learning is a big thing we're getting into. And also in-app integrations. I showed the button where you can give it access to a folder on your desktop. So we use this a lot for like coding and stuff, to read and write text files and understand, like read in an Excel document just for the moment. I don't need to have it in a library anywhere. I just want to talk about this file. But our next step there is going to be in-app integration. So right from within Excel, you can say, hey, answer these questions for me in the adjacent cells, things like that. And Adobe Forms, like filling out forms. Everybody has to fill out forms. So if you can just give the data to the AI and a way for the AI to fill out your form, that is like the dream come true. So we're working really hard on making that as easy as possible to make people's jobs better. So now I think it's time for Q&A. Does anybody have a question? Let me switch over.
Andrea,
Yeah.
we got really good intel from the beginning poll that many are, trying to figure out their AI strategy, and some are, many are looking for that student-facing chatbot. Can you comment on how you see or how they would use this as a student-facing chatbot?
Yeah, sure. So when I mentioned about the student tutor, that's one way that this could be a student-facing chatbot. But there's also other less specific ways that you could have just on your website. Here's one assistant that I've got called the Campus Companion. So you can say like, what's for dinner tonight in the dining hall, right? And so this campus assistant is hooked into our dining menu. It's hooked into the student handbook, the academic policies, the website, the like school's website, all of the information that it can grab so that when a student asks a question like this, it will go to the right place to get that information. So here, this is the dining hall menu for tonight. It gives you the source of where it got it from every time. So it says it got from a file, pages 5 through 11. Say, I'm gluten-free and I want to stick to 1,000 calories tonight and high protein. Give me an idea of, or give me a menu. So I've given it very specific instructions. It's going off the menu that's already there. Here's what I'm going to have: herb roasted chicken, mixed greens, hard-boiled eggs, healthy grain. And it gave me the protein count, how many calories each thing had, backup options if those aren't available. So all of that just came from the fact that I have the dining room information in there. So I can also say things like, how do I reset my password? So this would be hooked into saying your student troubleshooting tech guide, right? So we've got this. Here's how you reset your password. We've got Harvard data in here, but this would be whatever yours said. So we've got like the phone number for the help desk, in-person support, emergency access. What else can this do? Gosh, I think you get the idea, but it can access information that you give it. So if you want your students to have information like this, you just have to add it to your OneDrive if that's backing it, or upload it to the assistant. And then you can put it on your website. You can have them use Informer Go. It's really, really quite easy.
Yes, thank you. It's like a very targeted chatbot that, institutions can roll out to students and put in that governance and policy, policy regulated way. So thank you for showing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was also wondering if you could comment on our roadmap, we have interactive teaching and learning. And I know you alluded to what we are already doing in teaching and learning. That's like forward thinking with the interaction and how they could get polls within a class
Mhm.
and things like that. But like right today, the integration in the 360 with the teaching and learning.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that? So this is our Chief Product Officer, Madhavi. And so she probably can answer this question better than I can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just wanted the audience to recognize that we have been working really well with a lot of schools and have integrated into their LMSs, Canvas, Blackboard, D2L, whatever it may be. And we already know that professors already put in information into, those LMSs. So there's no need to reinvent the wheel. But rather we would ingest from those LMSs into, Inform or Go, everything that Andrea showed. So it's kind of like natural patterns. And the AI tutor, how she already showed that it gets spun up for each, this is all automagically, right? Based on your SIS and enrollment and the classes, but you get this really tailored AI chatbot experience that is in tandem with the professor side. And it's that 360 that really elevates it and changes it from being just a tutor, if you will, because there's lots of information you can glean, including like how much is a student accessing, what are some, good ways to convey material, because 40% of the roster are thespians or
Mhm.
are, enjoy sports. And then right then the instructor gets away an insight into how to convey material that may, for it to be absorbed and landed better. And we're taking that model and how we're already working with schools and on our roadmap, looking for how to make it very interactive within the classroom, where,
Uh-huh.
yes, so that's the kind of coming attractions.
Yes, and what you said reminded me too that it's good not to have silos. That's what we were talking about with AI sprawl, because there's so many options out there and everything kind of wants to own a specific, part of your AI initiative. But that's a lot to maintain. And it also kind of limits you, right? You're kind of stuck with whatever access you're given there and whatever features are there. Whereas an instructor might have this Venn diagram of data that's very much related to the registrar or admissions or student success. And having the ability to have all of the data that that person is able to access and is allowed to. Maybe there are brand new insights that'll become available or new possibilities there wouldn't be if their teaching and learning was completely separate from their, administration duties for the college or university. Anything else? I did want to mention that we're going to be at EDUCAUSE, and we do have a promotion going on for this demo day today. So new customers will get $2,500 in AI credits if you book a meeting with us before August 31st. And so that contact is sales@entrinsik.com. That QR code also goes to our request a demo page on our website, which is intrinsic.com/informer. But we also are going to be at booth 261 late October in Tennessee. So we hopefully will see you there as well. Is there any other last things we should do, Madhavi, before we close out?
I think this has been great. If there's any last minute questions, I think we have a couple minutes. I think the thing that we wanted to really convey is that this is a very unified, governed platform that can support use cases throughout your institution, whether it's in the back end, or the admissions or registrar financial aid office, all the way to teaching and learning. And that lends itself to this sort of regulatory governed way of doing AI that is responsible, and where you can have a really good unified experience, whether you're using it as an instructor and asking about your class, or whether now, instructors have employee hats and you're asking about, HR questions. It's a very unified experience.
Yeah, and it's got the security and reliability of the platform. Like I remember, was it Justin from CLU who said that you're not going to find a cheaper or faster way to get institutional AI or enterprise AI, or a more secure way. So like that was a huge testament from him. But I agree. I think it's, maybe I'm biased, but I think it's going to be the easiest and best way to get going with AI.
So Andrea, you do have a question from Jen Gleason that I'm not sure that answer went through. So Jen says, if you're not a current Entrinsik customer, can Informer Go be used as a standalone product? And can multiple chatbots be run off of one instance of Informer Go, each with its own integrations feeding it?
Yes, definitely. I don't have time to show it, but each one of those assistants that I made that show up in the checkbox there's also a way to generate an external link and send somebody a link to just that chat. And so that chat, it can generate as many chatbots as you want. An assistant is sort of like a chatbot on its own. Informer Go allows you to bring all of those into one and have a multi-assistant conversation. But we definitely have the ability to create many assistants. You do have to have Informer backing it because that's how it works. Like that's how the security works. That's how the authentication works. So when you log in, like what you're getting. There is a way to create a public bot, like when you're in a Google document and you say anyone with this link can view it, there is a way to do that. And if you have to be sure, of course, that the data backing that is general, like your website data. So not every person looking at a chatbot has to have a user account, but that's why it's so great to combine with Active Directory, because you've already got all that in place. And so you don't have to do all of that again.
Great. That looks like you've answered all of the questions. I'm going to paste the link. Just remember to visit their site. There's also a place there so that you can connect directly with them through the link that's on their site, as well as by using the resources here today. On behalf of EDUCAUSE, I want to thank you, Andrea, Madhavi, Lindsay, and I think there was another member of the team back there helping with questions, Brad. So thank you so much for sharing your product and participating in this demo session. And for our audience, thank you so much. We really value your presence and we value your opinion. So please share your feedback using the online poll that's on your screen. And the demo recording for today and other resources from the sessions will be available later today on the event site. So you'll also, if you didn't get to connect here, if you're viewing the recording, you'll also be able to share your contact information directly with our presenters on that site as well. We look forward to seeing you at our next session starting at 2. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.